Welcome back to Red Business in Focus with thanks to Cork's local enterprise offices. This week we're delighted to be joined by Dr Niall O'Keeffe, who is the head of enterprise in the local enterprise office in Cork City, and by Hyde, who has got lock and key solutions to tell us all about it. We are here to talk about starting your own business, and if you are starting your own business, the first question you have is, where do I start? Niall, good to have you back with us again. We did have two brilliant businesses who have been sent forward for the national awards on last week's episode. One was whiskey, one was wool, and it just goes to show you the depth of businesses that are out there.
That's right, Jonathan. On a daily basis, we get a whole raft of ideas from various sectors, from people with different skill sets and different backgrounds. And I suppose that's why the local enterprise office is described as the first-stop shop for ideas, for concepts, and we advise people to come to us as early as possible, because as such we have a range of supports, whether they're soft skills or whether they're financial, but also we can signpost. There are tremendous resources available within the Cork area, nationally, and what we've done in recent times is we've collated all of those into a booklet, Business Development in Cork, an entrepreneur's guide. We're going to release it on an annual basis, but it covers all of the state agencies and businesses that can support people at all stages of development.
What's funny about new businesses is that, you do have that little light bulb moment, as I call it, where you realise I have a thing, and I think this is a thing that other people will buy off me. In years gone by, there wouldn't have been kind of the one-stop shop. There wouldn't have been somewhere to go that would help you with vouchers, that would help you with advice and mentorship. But the Leo has really filled that role, and the level of service that you provide has taken off in the last couple of years.
Well, the local enterprise offices are just coming up to 10 years. In 2014, it'll be 10 years in existence, and the offices have provided tremendous support to businesses. Our ultimate goal is job creation. And I suppose what we're trying to do is remove barriers for people, and we're trying to create awareness. So I think even these interviews, these shows, and the work that we do is trying to create awareness that there are supports. There are still so many people ploughing their own furrow. They're trying to figure things out themselves. So if we take 2019 as an example, there were over 2,500 businesses started in the Cork area. They didn't all come to a local enterprise office, and some will do fine on their own, but the majority, the overwhelming majority, will benefit greatly by availing of training, mentoring, business advice, the basic tools and skills that will help them to manage their risk in taking their idea from a concept to delivery. And I think that's the really important point that I'd like to make, Jonathan, is that lots of people have great ideas. It's delivering on them is the challenge, and to make them sustainable and to do it in such an incremental way that they can make a living out of it and that they can create employment. And
that's where Hyde comes in, because you have got a really unique idea, Ram. First of all, what is it? And second of all, how did you come up with it?
Jonathan, it's called the HydBeam, H-Y-D, out of my own name, and B-E-A-M. How I came about it, was it by accident? Literally by accident. In 2019, my brother and we sailed the old wooden boat that has been in the family since 1964, but was built up in Ardrishig in 1896 on the Crinan Canal. And so the two of us decided we'd take her back to her home place, and we sailed up the east coast and across then into Scotland. And as we were going up the Crinan Canal, and you go into the loch. When you're going up, you go into the loch when the water's at the bottom, and then you go up to the next loch and go in, and so on and so on. And we were at the first loch, and we were down on the bottom, and there was no one up top to take a line. Now, when you're in the canal locks, when the water's coming in or going out, the boats get giddy, because there's little bits of like swirling pools and back eddies inside it, and you have to keep your boat secure, because of whether she's banging off the wall or hitting the boat in front. There's a risk of damage, and so you have to take a bow line from the bow of the boat from the front, and a stern line from the back of the boat, and put it around the bollard and drop it down again onto the boat. And then as the boat is rising up, you keep the tension on it all the time. So there was no one up top to take a line from us, and Stephen was in the cockpit, and I took the bow line and I put coils of it around my hand, and I was dropping the coils. I was going up a steel ladder that was built into the wall, and I was up about 10 feet, and suddenly the rope started crushing my hand against the rail, and I thought my hand was going to explode. It was that bad. And in still water like that, even though the boat is about 7 tons, even though she's only 28 feet, but the big, heavy boat you could check them easy enough in that, but she wasn't checking, she was going forward. And I thought my hand would burst, and I tried to let it go, and I got pulled off the ladder and came down on my shoulder, down onto the deck of the boat on my shoulder, down about 10 feet.
This isn't going well so far now. There's a solution coming, but this is the genesis of it.
This is the genesis of it, and so anyway, we went through there, we went on up, and we went to Crinan, and then during the week we stopped in Oban, and 2 of our sisters joined us there, and one of them said to me, wasn't that very dangerous? They should have somebody up there. And I said, there's a way of working this out. You don't have to have somebody up there. And she said, how? And I described how you could do it. And then the concept of the HydBeam was born at that point. And then I started to do the drawings and do the designs. It took me 2 years.
So how does it work now? How does it prevent you from getting your hand jammed?
You don't have to go up a ladder. You don't have to throw a line up. The system is in the water, and you connect onto it.
Can I go back to the basic thing, Ron?
Yeah.
Canals have been around since the middle of the 18th century.
They have been around since before Jesus was born.
And nobody has ever thought of doing this.
No, they have vertical chains in places, and on the continent they have vertical poles that are built into chambers on the wall for heavy canal barges and that. But they're so far apart, and you have to have a man on the bow and a man on the stern.
Sounds too much like effort.
Yeah.
Yours is a much simpler solution.
Well, the solution is just horizontal on the water.
I'm trying to phrase this as diplomatically as possible. I mean, you're obviously just out of college, a young man.
Just about, yeah.
So is this your first foray into entrepreneurship?
No. I have what's called, it's a medical term, and I hope it's okay. It's IAS, and it's itchy arse syndrome. And I can never stay still. I always have to be doing something. I'm doing driftwood art, I do some painting, I wrote a book, and then I did night owls. I was in Marquee Hire, and I started my original training when I left school in hotel management. And I took my first job when I was 11 on a farm where there was no running water, no electricity, no loo, and only a house full of mice.
I have to say, of all the years I've heard about it, you've got the worst case of IAS I've ever heard of in my entire life. But I suppose we'll go back to Niall, first of all, on this. Feasibility study is really important. And I suppose that's one of the reasons why Ram came to you to do a feasibility study on this seemingly very clever idea. And that's another area where the Leo can help.
Well, as I said earlier, people come in and they have great concepts and ideas. And what's brilliant with Ram is he had, I suppose, managed the risk in the situation that he described, developed, well, it's difficult to describe. Essentially, it's a device that's on the lock wall and floats up as the water, or down, depending on where the water is. Ram, very clever with the engineering, had done a lot of his research, has an awful lot of his homework done on potential markets and sales, and was looking to develop a unit, which are 20 metres long, Ram, is at each of the sections.
Well, this particular section is 20 metres long. Yeah. They're 5 metres.
So Ram came to us, we put an application together, it went to our local evaluation committee, it was approved. Ram has gone and he's tested this, fastened to a wall, and now he's on to the next stage, and he's looking to demonstrate, and as you said, there's canals all over the place, significant length, but it was really taking a concept to reality by using a feasibility grant.
The book that you've produced, is that available for everybody? How do people get their hands on that?
It covers, similar to Ram stories included in here, there are 10 other spotlights that we've included in there, different sectors, different businesses in different stages. Because one of the challenges, because if you meet somebody on the first day, Jonathan, you can talk about everything that we have available, but sometimes it's overload. So we've divided everything into pre-startup, startup and business expansion. And interestingly, an awful lot of the businesses that are contacting us now are family businesses, or people in second generation, or they're more than 10 years, and saying, okay, we've survived COVID, we've survived this, we've survived that, we want to pivot now, we want to move to the next stage, what do we do? You can download it from the local enterprise office websites. Okay, very good. It's brilliant. It's a fantastic bit of advice that's there for everybody. Ram and everyone else like them. Niall, Ram, thank you both very much for joining us.
Thanks, Jeremy.
That is it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us on Red Business in Focus. Next time, we're going to be joined by Bridget Farrell of All Talk Training, who helps multicultural teams improve communication, collaboration and performance. Bridget also took part in the Lean for Micro program with the Leo, so we're looking forward to hearing more about her experience. That's next time on Red Business in Focus, with thanks to Cork's local enterprise offices.